Hello everyone and welcome to the Magnum channel. Doing another high point video today. This is my high point model JHP 45 ACP, and today I'm going to show you how to disassemble this, and we're going to bust some myths. So I'm trying to make this a short video, and there's some interesting myths regarding high points when it comes to breaking them down. One particular channel in general, guys, that I didn't disagreed with was Paul Harrell, and I generally like Paul Harrell. I like a lot of his philosophies. I like the meat target tests he does. I like a lot of things Paul Harrell does. But when he reviewed the high point, he really kind of stomped on the disassembly of the high point. He said he had to take it apart 40 times to get it to work, and I didn't really feel like that was fair to the gun. To put that in perspective, I've never owned a high point before in my life. This is my very first high point, and I've never taken it apart except for today. So I've taken this gun apart, I think, twice or three times just today. I've never taken it apart before that. Okay, so just following the disassembly instructions, it's pretty easy. The other tools you need, I guess, you do need tools, are some drift pins, and really you only need, for field stripping, you really only need the 1/8" drift pin. But if we safety check this gun really quick, what you'll see is that when you lock it back on my particular firearm, I don't know how well the camera can pick that up, but let me zoom in just a little bit here. On my particular firearm right here, the drift pin is just a little bit close to this notch right here that they've made for it. And so I'm going to be using this 1/16" pin rather than a 1/8" pin, just so that it doesn't get stuck. Okay, so zooming back out, what you really need is this 1/16" pin. You of course need the gun, you need to safety check it and all that business. Make sure all that's good to go. And then I'm just going to take this hammer, start this pin drifting. Now at the point where it hits the tabletop on the other side, like that, I found that you can just take your drift pin and stick it in there and kind of twist it, and it'll push it right out. So there's your roll pin. I didn't really care which way it comes out. Now you can check and you can try to make sure you keep your finger over this, but it doesn't really matter, I don't think. Just as a safety precaution you can. But you lift it up, pops off, then you kind of lift it up the rest of the way. That comes right off. There's your spring. The recoil spring has been captured. And so we have our recoil spring, we have our drift pin, and now here's our high point. Pretty much field stripped. That's pretty much it, guys. So you can clean your barrel. You have access to your barrel, and of course the barrel is fixed on there. You can't really change that. So I think it's pinned. So you could unpin it, I guess, but I don't know why you would need to do that. So this is probably as far as I'm going to go, more or less forever, as far as this part of it goes. So there's that part. And then if you look up in your slide here, okay, you take out your little, I don't know what the official name of this is, but it's the little retainer thing that holds the pin, that holds the gun together, essentially. It contains the striker and all that. And this is where your drift pin is going through. So there's that little hole right there on the underside, and that's where your drift pin is going through, and that's going to become important when we put the gun back together. All right, now I'm just going to dump out your striker. And one thing that's nice about a high point, guys, is that on a Glock, I know they have those plates back there, and it takes a lot to get the striker out and clean that channel out. And on this high point, this striker is really easy to remove. So you got your firing pin, you have your dual capture. It's just a spring on top of a spring there. So you just slide your springs together, and that's it. So then, if you look at the underside of a slide, like I was just saying, you can really see in there, and you can see that channel, if I can get it to face right through it, there you go. That channel is really easy to access. It's really easy you can stick a cotton tip up in there and clean that out. And so if you get a bunch of garbage in there, it's going to slow down your firing pin. It's really easy to clean that out. But other than that, there's your big old slide to clean out. And so when you're all done, we're going to disassemble. We're going to reassemble this. We're going to put our firing pin back in. Now we're going to put in our two springs together. Now we're going to put in our little pin that holds everything together. So we're going to put that in, and that's just kind of mobile in there until we seat it. Now we're going to slide in on this lower part here. We're going to slide our, if you look right in there, there's a spot for the recoil spring. So you're going to slide your recoil spring right in there. Okay. Now we're just going to take Alright, just like that. And this little piece back here is going to drop right into place. Whoops, you guys can't see that. This little piece right here, I don't know if you can see that part sticking up. That little part's going to drop right into place. So pull the gun back and kind of wiggle it. Most of the time it just fell right into place for me like that. And now your gun's basically back together. Now, one thing that's very important to note, when you lock the gun back like that, and you're going to put your pin back in, you need to make a note that the slide, your back of your slide has to be seated all the way. If it's not, if you can't grab the gun, you can squeeze it like this and squeeze these two components right here together. If you have a little bit of play in there, then your roll pin's not going to seat. But again, I found it doesn't matter which way you put the roll pin back in. It seems to go in just fine. So we're going to line up our little punch here and drift our pin back in. It doesn't take a lot of effort. You don't have to really wail on it or anything. In this case, because we made sure that our things were lined up, everything is fine. Now with that little pin in the back, I have had to squeeze this down earlier today. I have had to squeeze it down just to make sure it was lined up with that hole. Now we're going to take the safety off. And just like that, the gun's back together. So I hope this video helped you. I know it's not super zoomed in and detailed, but I didn't feel like the gun was that hard to take apart. It didn't require a degree or anything. Seemed pretty simple to me. Didn't really seem to matter. I tried putting the roll pin in, taking it out from different directions, which also didn't seem to matter. And as long as you have it lined up and you have everything put back together right down here on this end, then the roll pin went in really easily and smoothly every single time. And I didn't really have a lot of trouble breaking this thing down. So that's my take on the situation. So if you're struggling to take down your high point, I hope this video helped you. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.